That's why.
Apologies, we don't hear the board.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Now we can, yes, we haven't been able to hear anything up until now.
Oh my goodness. Wait, we have an echo here though. Hold on.
You have to.
On your keyboard. Bear with us one
Oh, no,
second.
sorry.
If you get rid of the volume on the laptop, it should fix it.
All right, can you still hear us?
Yes.
No,
Okay. Yes.
no, I think we're still getting back.
Okay, I apologize that we still have a, hold on one second.
You have to turn the mic on.
Did you hit the mute on the microphone? There you
Is
go.
that-
He's out there.
No,
Huh?
so- okay, hold on one second.
Your phone.
What if we did this? Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I apologize that you were unable to hear us. What I would like to do is just briefly summarize what we discussed a moment ago so that everyone is aware of it. We took the roll call. We have a quorum for the meeting. We discussed conflicts of interest, and Al Torgiani stated that he had a conflict for the EFG Sabre Heritage matter that was going to be before us. There were no bills and communications. The board voted unanimously to approve the minutes of the June 14th meeting without any corrections. Jane gave a brief treasurer's report, which is not a matter that needs to be voted on. And there are no report of committees, and there was no unfinished business, which led us to the new business section of the agenda for consideration and approval of the authorizing resolution for EFG Sabre. And Al has stepped out due to his conflict, and Sarah will now introduce the matter.
Okay, so I apologize about that. Our normal IT person is on vacation, and so I'm taking over, and I'm not quite as well versed in this as she is. So I apologize for that. But before the board this morning is the assignment request from EFG Sabre to ECA Boligo Hudson Heritage LP. They are, ECA is asking for approval for an assignment for the commercial phase 1 of the Hudson Heritage project. They were in front of the board in June to present their request. They are requesting for the already developed parcels. There are a couple undeveloped parcels as part of phase 1. Those will remain with ECA Sabre, but the rest of phase 1 will transfer over to ECA.
So the amount, we've already approved an amount previously, and this is a reallocation?
No. So it's not an amount. So it's an assignment. So it's a change of ownership.
Okay.
And so there are some remaining sales and mortgage with that project. And so ECA is asking for the remaining sales and mortgage to go. There's no additional benefits
Right.
being requested.
Yes.
It's just for the sales and mortgage to be transferred over. Also, all the employment commitments, ECA will then take over the employment commitments on that project.
Okay, and we've had a,
And we had the public hearing was held on July 8th. There were no members of the public present, but we did have written statements from 2 members of the public, and the written transcript and the written statements were sent to the board.
right, and I think, Jamie, you had a question about that? Jamie?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, there was a comment,
Yes.
there was comments from the public regarding a date,
Yeah, there was one.
June 17th to July 17th.
Yeah, they mentioned that something, one of the,
Typo, it looked like a typo to me.
yes,
I read that last night. I don't have it in front of me.
yes, they just mentioned,
Oh, for
Bullet number
for the
4.
July board meeting?
something stated the way, it was a typo, and it appeared that something happened before
Before
the
July,
thing
this
that
meeting.
initiated it.
I have to-
I think it was, the notification for the meeting was on June, was stated
It
in the
was,
thing as
it was.
After the date of the
June
meeting.
11th or something like that. No, I think it was a month before. It was before it could possibly have happened.
Okay.
Bear with us while Sarah calls up those responses. I noted that as well. I assumed it was a typo.
Should have printed it out.
It was definitely on this, the Hudson Heritage Project.
I thought so,
So,
because it was the first set of documents.
Oh, was it the documents attached and not the
It
resolution?
was the comments attached
yeah.
from Sarah. I'm reading a
No,
7.
no, I'm saying
Oh,
a comment about the documents and not about the resolution.
no, it was about I thought it was about the public
Comments
hearing.
stated at the public hearing,
Must
whether something was misstated.
have been the other one.
Okay. Maybe the other
I'll keep
project?
looking. Yeah, okay.
It was one of these two folks
Yeah.
commented on it.
Okay, I'll look at the next project.
Okay.
Transcripts. It's not the transcripts. Previously sent to you.
Apologize for the delay, but we want to make sure we get this right.
Here it is. It's bullet number 3. The email is July 15th. It was Eastdale. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. So that was something we have a resolution about Eastdale next.
yeah.
So, okay, it didn't apply to this one. But thank you anyways, Jamie, for finding that. Okay, so again, this is assignment of a portion of the land and a portion of the existing benefits previously granted to Hudson Heritage. Is there any comments that we need from the developers themselves, the applicants?
So no, so the applicants are here on Zoom. We have Elliot Sasson. We have Andrew Derrickson and Diana Kolev.
Okay. Does anybody from the board have any questions about this project?
Right. I think last time we discussed that it's similar ownership in both the previous and the new, correct?
So
EFG.
EFG Sabre and ECA. It's, I don't know if it's similar ownership, but Andrew, if you can,
No, we're not related parties.
Oh, okay. Unrelated.
We are not related parties.
Okay.
We're in the middle of a sales transaction between us and ECA Acquisitions for the purchase and sale of the shopping center portion with the completed area of the phase 1 of the shopping center at the project.
So this is a transfer of previous benefits to a new owner of that portion.
Yeah.
Correct, and we will retain the undeveloped pieces as well as the additional subsequent phases of the project. This was done as a phased project, and we will continue to develop the remaining undeveloped portions of the project.
Mark?
May I ask, so the tenants of the shopping center will remain the same through the transaction?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, would a board member be willing to make a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Amy. Mark has seconded it. Jasmine, would you please take a vote?
Jane Capone,
Approve.
Amy Mondieri.
Approved.
Kathy Bauer.
Approved.
Mark Doyle.
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Okay. All right, thank you for coming before us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the board. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I know. Okay. Okay, yes, now we can
Now we can
allow
get
Hal to come back in the meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
our office has a relationship with one of the applicants here. Well, one of the partners in the office has a relationship, so our office has not been involved in this portion of it, so there's counsel, Nixon Peabody is here to take care of it.
Okay,
Okay, so we will remove our.
so our legal counsel has a conflict on the next matter, so they have recused themselves from the negotiations and discussions on this, and they are leaving the room. Okay, we have before us MHTC development, and this is another, I believe, example of what we've been doing on this project all along. But Amy, Sarah, would you please just, again, just a quick review of that for everybody?
Yes, so we have in front of us Eastdale Village Town Center, a request to allocate previously approved IDA benefits to 416 Eastdale Avenue LLC for the construction of a mixed-use building with a restaurant on the first floor and apartments on the second floor. The restaurant will be owned by a legal entity called Mama's Boys, but the restaurant itself is Eastdale, Lola's at Eastdale. So this morning, just to reiterate what Liz Capolino said, is that we have Terrence Walsh here. He is acting IDA counsel for us on this matter. And then from Eastdale Village, we have Joe Kirchhoff, John Hedinger, Ed Kowalski, and Ryan Matthews.
Great. Does anybody from the board have a question about this resolution?
Not so much a question, but I was wondering what the location of the restaurant is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would somebody from Eastdale be willing to speak to that? John or Joe?
Absolutely. What I'll do is just share a screen really quickly. So if everybody can see my screen, this is located on Eastdale Avenue South, basically directly across the street from Sims Podiatry and the Jolie Medispa, kind of along the bank of recent development projects that we've brought before the board back in December, much of which are underway, including but not limited to Live Inspired, the Blue Olive, Bertolozzi Physical Therapy, and then we obviously discussed the learning experience as well. But this is a significant project in a prominent location that really brings something new and differentiated to Eastdale with one of the most prolific restaurateurs and catering operators within the Hudson Valley.
Mark, any other follow-up on that?
No, I think that's.
I have a general question about Eastdale. I've been I've visited the project, and of course I have spoke very favorably about it in the past about how it has met its sort of description to us from the beginning. John, I'm just curious, have you had any situations where an original owner or investor in one of these, what I'm going to call a vertical, where they own the commercial space and the tenant space above, have you had any situations where someone has not been successful and there's been a need to change that structure yet? Or is it everybody still doing well? What's the status overall?
We've been very fortunate. All of the owner operators that we've had have been very successful, and in many instances have grown their business more than they thought was possible coming in. We don't take that for granted, and so we're in touch, all the time and trying to perpetually sort of course correct and help where we can. But knock on wood, we've been very fortunate so far.
That's good to hear. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, hearing none, does anybody wish to make a motion to accept this resolution? Approve this? I'm sorry, who was that?
Al.
Al?
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie has seconded? Okay, Jasmine, will you please take a vote?
Al Giorgiani,
Approved.
James McCone,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri.
Approved.
Kathy Bauer.
Approved.
Mark Doyle.
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Best wishes, Mr. Kowalski?
Oh, Chairman Dean, should we get back to that typo on the,
Oh, I apologize, yes, oh my gosh.
I just realized it.
Thank you. 1 second, please. I think it is a matter of clarification, but nonetheless, we should make sure that we've addressed it.
So it was comments from Ms. Ticondelli,
Uh-huh.
and it was, there appears to be error in the final authorizing resolution, Eastdale, posted on the Dutchess County website regarding the date of the meeting with the finance. The resolution states the date of the meeting as the 17th of June. Oh, so in the final authorizing resolution, there is a typo of, it says 17th of June, it should be 17th of July. The final authorizing.
Okay,
Go ahead. So Terrence, should the board make a resolution to correct that, or is that a typo that can be corrected when it's?
I'll just send you an updated draft of the resolution. I think the minutes will reflect this discussion that the typo was identified, and it'll be corrected so that when the final resolution is executed, I'll send you the one that has the correct date on it.
okay, is anybody on the board uncomfortable with that discussion? Have any objections to that correction? Okay, okay. Thank you for that advice. All right, so again, thank you to the applicants and best wishes for Lola's in their new location.
Thank you all very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there anything else that we need to discuss in the IDA?
Yeah, I do have a couple announcements.
Okay.
So, do you want the, Don and Liz?
Oh, yes, Don and Liz.
So I just wanted to give some kind of legislative updates of what's going on at New York State and how they may impact IDAs. It's just for information only, but it would be informative. So with the recent budget, state budget passed, New York State reauthorized the funding for the FAST New York program. The FAST New York program is a grant program to have like certified shovel-ready sites and helping prepare shovel-ready sites for development. And then
Are there any sites in our area that would qualify for this?
So for us, no. Because there is a minimum number of acreage to be part of that site, and we don't have that acreage available. But what we are doing internally is taking the sites that we do have available and comparing them to the requirements of the FAST New York program and see if there's, we can prepare those secondary sites for development. Because even though FAST New York New York is providing these monies to do that. We think there's value in maybe helping developers, or landowners or property owners in general to get their property shovel ready, so that if there is a smaller project that may want to come in, we can, maybe assist them down the line.
Okay.
And then they also reauthorized funding by 50 million, the Restore New York program. And Restore New York program is a grant program for municipalities only. They're the qualifying applicant to take property that may be blighted or underutilized, and then to make that shovel ready.
Does that include existing sites that have buildings on them?
Yes, so.
School districts are eligible for this program?
So it's usually like the town or the village that's eligible, but it's monies to help, let's say you have an abandoned building and they want to tear down the building, and they want funds for that. So those are, or there's funds to bring a limited amount of infrastructure to.
So this is for municipality-owned properties?
Not for municipality owned, it's for municipals to apply to. Whereas Fast New York is open to municipals, actually IDAs, economic development organizations, counties. Restore is only limited to government entities. They can, Restore New York can, it's supposed to be municipal owned properties, but they can show a strong partnership with the owner, property owner or developer to do that. So
Are brownfields eligible for this, or is that a separate?
that's a separate, bucket.
Sarah, what's the minimum acreage for the first grant?
I want to say it's 50 acres.
Okay.
For the first grant. I can look up exactly for you.
It's only commercial.
It's only for commercial industrial.
Okay.
The store it would include sewage systems?
So yes, it's limited infrastructure. There's some parameters of what they're willing to do, but
Okay.
and I can send you the grant summaries to the board if that would be helpful.
Okay.
So, and then there are two IDA related bills that passed both houses. One that mandates a school representative and a labor representative serve on an IDA board. The other nuance of that is they, as part of the bill that passed, that the IDA has 180 days to comply with that new regulation, and the board can temporarily increase in size. So our bylaws right now limit the number of board members to 7, because we may be potentially adding 2 more members on the board. We can go up to 9, but as soon as one of the non-labor rep or school rep members roll off, it goes back down. So.
Or we could decide to permanently enlarge the board if we chose. I mean,
Yes.
Well, actually, it would be the legislature that has to do
Well, for
that.
the IDA has the authority.
Okay.
For the LDC, we'd have to ask the legislature for the.
And these rules apply to IDAs and LDCs?
Just to IDAs.
Okay.
Just to IDAs.
Okay.
It's important to note that both these bills that I'm talking about has not been signed by the governor yet. So it's not yet law, but they have been passed by both the Assembly and the State Senate.
So we have an open board seat right now.
Yes.
Is that in the process? Is there any nominee before the legislature?
So there
right
is a
now?
nominee before the legislature right now, has yet to be approved.
Okay.
I don't want to say the name
No, that's
public
fine.
because it could change since it
Sure.
hasn't been approved yet. But from what I understand is that they do have a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to approve that candidate.
So would it be important to let the legislature know about this? Because it could have an impact, probably
It could have
not,
an
but
impact. I
letting
mean,
them know.
yeah, I mean, it could have an impact. I'll say that because the governor has not signed it yet, there are some IDAs in New York State that have issue with this regulation, so I'm not 100% confident that there may be changes to this regulation at the governance level.
Because sort of on the surface of it, the school rep is going to have a conflict of interest almost every time.
Yes, and so that's the issue
Yeah.
is, so the potentially school rep will have, so some of the issues that have come up that the other IDAs have brought up, some that I have brought up is the timing of the meetings and the ability of a school rep to attend the meetings for quorum. Because, you know, school representative, their mission is really the school. And so they would, you know, probably choose school events over an IDA meeting. The other issue is we are while there are some IDAs that are within a municipality, like the city of Poughkeepsie, and there's, you know, their school rep is easily identified, somebody from the city school district, whereas we are a county. So how do we choose the school representative over another school district? And if a project is not in that school district's area, you know, what is the vested interest of that school district attending the IDA meeting?
And labor could be also an issue with conflicts, but it seems to me that maybe the thought process is to have them involved with perhaps the overall mission of an IDA, but they could participate in those discussions, but they may have to recuse from every actual project.
Yeah,
So
especially if they want to bid on that project or.
Well, or if it's a labor overall if it's a union employed person, they could have a conflict on every project. So,
Can the school representative be from a college or does it have to be?
Yeah, that's what's the definition.
What's the parameter of
And does it have, could it be like a board member or does it have to be?
So those are all things that need
Private
to be
school.
clarified. You know, it stemmed from, there was an issue in Westchester. And Westchester has multiple IDAs. They have a county level IDA and then they have several municipal level IDAs. And one of the municipal level IDAs had a issue with their school district, and that's where it stems from. And so there isn't really, it's assumed that it is a K through 12 school representative rather than a higher ed, but the law right now is very, kind of ambiguous on that. So there is some question as to what school representative
Can't be on a
is.
board, right?
So, yeah, I mean, it's,
They cannot be on a school board.
no, so
That would be a conflict every time.
Well, they could be, but they would have to declare
Right,
conflict almost
yeah.
every
But then
time.
they could lose their position too, if their elections don't, you know, and they won't line up with ours.
So,
Right.
I'm just curious, was the issue with the Westchester IDA that the IDA, you know, we've always tried to get the consent and, you know, the agreement of the school board in a matter, but we don't have to. Was it an issue where the IDA approved a project despite the opposition of a particular school board?
So that I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know at the Westchester, this was at a municipal level IDA. I do know at the Westchester County IDA, they're actually, they're similar to us in that they need to get all the taxing jurisdictions approval to pass IDA benefits. They are actually restricted by their county regulations. They cannot approve IDAs without having, you know, the municipal approval. But at the local level, I'm not sure.
It should be noted that recently, but we're giving more and more notice to the affected taxing jurisdictions.
Yes.
In advance.
Yes.
They know of our uniform tax exemption policy, and deviations used to be the issue. And now they're getting notices regularly on this. And the big problem really is the way the state has interpreted the amount of revenue that they get, whether the revenue from pilot projects is included as part of their tax base. And that's been a bone of contention, and that can be fixed on the state level easily by, you know, because what happens is, if they go over their 2% cap and they're not, and the way they treat the revenues, it's been a problem for them. They go over the 2% cap too quickly, and they're not, because the property's exempt. So anyway, they've talked about it, about changing that, but it's never been taken care of. And, you know, we've had discussions at certain, when we're talking to some of the school districts about their problem, because over the 2%, then they have to go to budget, go to a referendum, and it's really difficult for them. And it's understandable.
Yes.
But it's just a glitch that they could take care of, so.
All right, well, we'll see how this plays out. Is there any, do you feel, Sarah, that there's any need for our IDA to be involved in any of these discussions? Are there other executive directors that have approached you, or do you feel a need at any level for us to be more involved with that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a good relationship with the school districts. Al is our serves as our labor representative. So in many ways, the only objection or concern I have about this proposed regulation is the board size for quorum. Because I do feel that if we have a school representative, and this is just based on experience, I have school representatives on other committees of the organization, and they are my worst offenders of attendance because of, school events.
Could you get us, or see if there is if they've got to the clarity of defining would Al qualify as the labor representative? What is the definition? It would be interesting if you find that, if you could mail it to us.
Yes,
It'd be just interested to know.
Yep, I will send that. And then the second one that has passed both the House and the Senate, and there's actually even more questions about this one, will require IDAs to take into consideration in their uniform tax exempt policy whether a project will provide on-site childcare or not.
Wow.
Oh, during construction?
I think like once the project is like done.
But still,
wow.
Yeah. So
that's expensive for whatever business that.
But you're seeing this it was in the CHIPS Act too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that one has even more questions out there.
Sure.
So that is something that passed both the Senate and the Assembly.
Okay.
So and I can send that to you to look at, but there's a lot of holes in that language.
Okay.
And then the last one I have is the Prevailing Wage Subsidy Board. If you remember back in, was it in 2020? Projects where public benefits exceed 30% of the total project cost would be subject to prevailing wage. There was a delay on that because as part of the law, the governor had to appoint members of this prevailing wage subsidy board. And it wasn't until fairly recently that that board has been fully seated. So the board has now been fully seated and they've held some public hearings to discuss. One of them is the most recent one, and it's still open for public comment, is that the Prevailing Wage Subsidy Board is trying to determine the definition of total project costs and how to interpret the net present value and calculation of pilots in that 30% benefit. Because, as you know, construction happens first, and then the assessment happens, and then that assessment can change and it's phased in. So how do you calculate what potentially the value of the benefits of a pilot?
And then charge it.
And how do you calculate in that 30%? Especially problematic where pilot may be, more than our standard 10-year pilot, things like that, so.
Well, we'll have to just wait and see on that.
So right now, the board, the Prevailing Wage Subsidy Board has asked New York State Economic Development Council to kind of poll their members, their IDA members on how they calculate the value of benefits. So that's what they're doing now, so.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
And that's it for my announcements.
Okay. Does anybody else have any matters for the IDA?
Just real quickly, since we're doing policy and stuff. So, looking at, it was kind of interesting looking at the NRI application for Hyde Park and the data that they provided, some pretty old. Do we have any more recent data on housing progress, affordable housing, et cetera?
So the county does do an annual housing report.
Yeah.
I can send that to the board. I myself have not looked at it in a little bit.
Has Pattern?
But Pattern just released their housing, education, and cost of living report just a couple weeks ago. And it's.
I serve on that board, just to be clear, but you could forward.
I can forward that report.
To the board members.
Yes, it was just released a couple weeks ago.
Seems like we're in a dynamic time, so we should know what's going on.
Yes, and that report addresses some of these issues.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the IDA meeting.